Good evening, everybody. This is the June 11th meeting of the Nottingham Conservation Commission. I'm Sam Demerit, the chair. To my left is Susan Mooney, the secretary. To my right is Kristen Lamb, member, and Liz Katowski to her right. And we have four, so that's a quorum. We may have a couple others show up, or if we don't know for sure. At this point, next on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Announcements, I don't really have any at this point.
There will be a public hearing next
Oh, yeah.
Monday,
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
June 18th, for a potential conservation easement, and the public is invited to attend. It'll be in conference room 1, 7 o'clock. Again, that's June 18th.
Yeah, with the
And
Board of
that's for
Selectmen.
the Bateman property?
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe say a little bit about
Yeah, this is a property, we're potentially putting an easement on a property on Stage Road, which is currently being farmed, so probably the first farm easement we will have.
Second.
Second?
Sweet sir.
Oh, yeah, sweet church.
Who's the land trust?
Selt.
So,
So, nice.
okay, next on my agenda was approval of previous minutes, which we don't have.
Not happen
we don't
next
have-
time.
have it.
Flying right through here.
Yes, we're already in number 5.
Yeah, down to 5, the Lamprey River Watershed report. Finally had a meeting tonight, late this afternoon, and going into this evening. Nothing really spectacular going on there. They're still trying to get water testers for the rest of the Lamprey River Watershed Association spots in the other towns. The Conservation Commission has already started the testing of the 3 spots here in Nottingham. That's going along quite well.
Sam, I shared with the public, I did a post on Facebook about our testing, and someone asked where the data is. Do you know?
Yes, it's the
Yeah, we
DES
could-
website, and if you just follow through. I tried to copy a link today for LRWA, no, I'm sorry.
that. VRAP?
Yeah, VRAP, thank you, Liz. In which you could access the data, but then when I posted it or pasted it and then tried it, it didn't work. So people can go to the DES website and look for Volunteer River Assessment Program, VRAP.
Maybe I'll grab that link and
And then you can
send
go
it
to the
Yes.
watershed
Dawn.
from there,
Yes,
the Lamprey watershed, and then look at specific tributaries.
yeah, there's data for all sections of New Hampshire there.
Yeah,
I
the,
could
Tested.
maybe have Dawn throw that on our website.
Good
too.
idea.
Oh, yes, that would be good.
yeah, the LRWA, Lamprey River Watershed Association, is currently planning on doing the 14 sites, including the 3 that we do here in Nottingham, so.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They have 2 kits, where we have 1 kit for ours, so, right now they're looking at having one housed in the western part of the watershed for those towns in that area, and then one in the eastern part for the towns in that area.
How many towns are covered, do you remember, Sam?
I will count them.
Getting the full 20 questions, Sam.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 towns, including
8 towns.
including Nottingham. 14 sites, including the 3 here, so.
Are they doing the sampling at roughly the same time frame Like every 2 weeks, the same?
They'll be doing,
Weekends usually?
possible, probably, yeah.
I think it's always the same season and
Same
always has to
season,
be
I
in
just
the
didn't know
morning.
if they
Yeah.
did the same
Yeah.
weekends.
They may or may not do
Yeah.
the same weekends as us, I'm not sure, but and it
Same
may,
time
and it
frame,
may
yeah.
break down that, because they only have the 2 kits, that, they'll have, some towns doing it this weekend and then the remaining towns doing it the next weekend. But
That
they
makes
will-
sense.
Every 2 weeks after that. Let's see, Bear Paw report, they got really nothing to.
No new
Still-
news?
No news. They looked at another spot for an office, last week. Was it last week? Last week, I don't know. I was supposed to go up, but I forgot all about it until after the meeting.
Hello.
And then, that's really about it for Bear Paw. Trails Committee report, Liz.
Yeah, we had a Trails Committee meeting this past Thursday. It's always on the first Thursday of the month. And we talked about a few things, such as, do people want to continue to meet once a month? Was the first week of the month good? And I guess we're not going to have any changes because people seem to think first Thursday was good because then we can report back to the full commission the following Monday. So I'm going to do that. Our next meeting will be July 5th. At this particular one, we talked about the Earth Day Festival, how that went, what we learned from that. Courtney from the Recreation Department was able to come to the meeting. She's been on the list for the committee for a long time, but was just so busy with other things that this is the first time she's been able to come. But we're thrilled that she was
Mhm.
there because she will be able to contribute quite a lot, being here in the office, and having, good relationships with Dawn and Sterndale and everything. She'll be kind of a liaison for us in that respect, on some of the projects that we're doing. She did mention, talking about Earth Day, that they had the raffle and the silent auction, and they raised about $550 for the Conservation Commission,
Nice.
and we're really grateful to them for that.
Mhm.
Because some of that money will go to the Trails Committee to help us with signage and other work that we're gonna be doing on the trails. So, the walk that we tried to do at Earth Day, the trail walk, didn't really come about, but we're gonna advertise better next year. There will be a fuller schedule in advance, so we hope to have more people participating. We'll try to have the walk earlier in the day.
The weather
as
is a
well.
little iffy too.
And the weather wasn't that good.
No.
I think that next year's event in general is going to, it may start earlier, have the 5K race earlier, and it'll probably end earlier. This year it was supposed to go till 5, but everybody was pretty much done with what they were gonna do by 3, which was too bad because there were still good programs scheduled all the way till 5, but we just didn't have the people staying. So that's gonna be a little different next year, I think. So we did have the binder of maps. We had put together, I think, 6 or 7 maps that we put in a binder and had them available for the people who came by our booth to be able to take copies of them. So they're not the prettiest maps yet, we're working on it, but they're good enough that somebody can find the trailhead, find the trail and walk the trail. So this is really opening up some of these public areas to residents and others who might want to walk on our conservation lands. So that's all good. And let's see, we're also putting together a volunteer list in addition to the regular committee, gathering the names of people who would like to be involved in a particular like work day or something like that, but don't really want to come to meetings. So we've already got almost 20 people on that. Now we just have to organize the work
Wow.
projects for them, and we will be doing that as soon as we can figure it all out. We
Will they hire out to house clean?
there you go, Sue. So we're really happy about that. I do have to say that Christian Matthews, who was on the Trails Committee, and Jim Salgi have both stepped down, just too many other commitments. But both of them would like to stay involved and, help with a work project if we can do that. So I'm happy for that and happy for their interest. So that's about it. We will have on June 30th a walk of the Conservation Commission and Trail Committee members who are interested to come over to the Marsh Woods property, which is the Miriam Daggett property and adjoining Tasker property, so that we can see what have everybody kind of evaluate where the proposed trails will be that are on the map right now. That we haven't handed out that map because we're not ready to really put the trails together. We are planning them so that we can submit an application to the NR, Natural Resources Conservation Service, under the Wetlands Reserve Program. We have to apply for compatible use approval, and so that requires us to have really thought through where we want the trails to go, any crossings of streams, any possible impact to wetlands in that area. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going to evaluate those possible trails and also look at a connector trail between the Miriam Daggett part of Marsh Woods and the Tasker part. That's not really as clear as can be, and we need to mark the boundaries especially on the west side of those properties too. So, a lot of things that we're planning. We're going to put together some signage for the Chernenko property.
I was going to say, you probably have some graphic design talent on the Trails Committee with Crystal.
Yeah, we do.
If you want help, or like I could do an inventory or just kind of do a interpretive, like what kind of habitat or what kind of species
that would be great.
Would be there. And I have contacts through Center for Wildlife for sign printing because we have kiosks.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that because that would be a big help to us. Yeah, it's really kind of fun finding out what resources we have.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to you about that afterwards because you might know where I can get some of the materials that we're looking for some very simple, just arrow signs that we've seen on other trails that we don't have a big budget, so everything we do is going to be done, as
I hear that.
Yeah.
But modest is good.
Right.
Expensively as possible. But
Yeah, because we don't want.
Big flashy things.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
and it's the function that we're interested in, making sure people know where they are, can find their way and have a good time, and also learn about what's there on the land. For the Marsh Woods property, we not only have the natural features, but we have the historic features, the old mill site, the pastures, where the old farm was and things. So it's pretty exciting, and as
We just had a cool idea
Yeah?
that I called it cool myself. But that we could maybe also like a couple of books at the library to like encourage people, like if they click on the link, because there's Tom Wessel's Reading the Forested Landscape, and
Oh, yes.
so we could say like heading out to Miriam Daggett, like go check out these books, and like you could do it in sync with. It's just another way to enhance learning, or if people wanted to go to that level. But
yeah,
it could be kind of cool to have like
that is nice.
a couple of books that coincide with each property.
And speaking of the library, the binder that we had with all the maps in it that was at the Earth Day booth, we're putting together 2 more of those. One of them's going to stay in the rec department, and one will stay in the library, so that people want to.
It's awesome. People were really interested in those.
They seem to be, and as they.
And people like takeaways like that too. Yeah.
So,
Nice, Liz.
well, thank you. And it's been nice to have. Those maps are online right now, on the town website. So we'll improve them over time, but right now, we have maps there that people can access.
Just piggybacking on what you said, Kristen, there's another book that we looked at years ago about stone walls, New England
Cool.
stone walls.
Yeah, it could be like suggested reading, so we
Yeah.
could have the map and the kind of, information on the
Mhm,
property, and
mhm.
then underneath we could have a couple of links.
That's good.
Mhm.
And, when we finally do, when we're finally able to open up the whole Marshwoods property and have, signs there, we hope to have some interpretive materials about the old homestead and the
Mhm.
mill that was
Mhm.
there and things like that. And,
Tag team me with Rhoda or the
what?
historical.
Oh, yeah, well, having Leanne on the Trails
Yeah,
Committee is so
there you
great
go.
because she's the,
Good
that
resource.
connection,
Yeah.
and plus she lives close to there and knows the property pretty well.
Mhm.
Anything else?
I think we should welcome you in. Hi, what's your name?
I'm Jonathan Cummings.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hi.
Came to sit in, or is there something you wanted to,
Nothing in particular, no.
nothing in particular?
Thanks for coming.
So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Mhm.
Involved with the trails and Nottingham, let me know.
Next on my agenda is correspondence. And we have a number of intent to cuts. The first one is map 31, lot 10, sublot 3. The acreage is 72.61 acres. They're cutting 55.
What road is that on?
It's, the address is 326 Stage Road.
So that's north of here?
Yeah. Yeah, it's up, quite a ways north.
We're 114 here,
It's
are
up
we?
at
We're 114.
114,
129?
119,
I'm
something like that.
talking about the town office
Yeah, that's
building,
what I know.
114.
14.
Is it on our logo? No. No.
Anyway, yeah, this is up quite a ways, because it's up pretty close to Route 4, I think.
Okay.
You want that one?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay, the second one is map 37, lot 17, also on Stage Road. It's 171 Stage Road. There's 72 plus or minus acres, and they're cutting 50 plus or minus acres.
Are there any wetlands, issues with either? of these?
I think they did have, I think I have seen some sort of a wetlands thing on that.
Did these already happen? Sometimes we get them.
This one has been started,
At the Amazon property?
yeah.
Okay.
But that's their second one.
This is-
That's an extension
That's
then.
an extension of the first one, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay, next one is map 62, lot 5, Deerfield Road, 56 acres, cutting 35. Let's see, that 60, it's, trying to think, this is the Rosenfield Mallet property.
Oh, it is.
One.
Now, that's an interesting issue. It's I believe that Bear Paw wasn't initially informed about that, even though they're
Yeah,
over
yeah, we-
easement, but I guess they
Yeah.
must be all on the
All
same
squared
page at
away,
this point.
yeah.
The next one is map 10, lots 9-14, 9-16, 9-17, 9-18, 9-29, 9-30, and 9-35. The access is Oak Ridge Road.
Oak Ridge Road?
Yeah. This is the Maple Ridge.
Just
Well,
as an aside, that property that we talked about and its ecological significance in the 25 vernal pools there. Someone took a photo of a Blanding's turtle trying to lay her eggs in that
Oh, yeah?
property,
Is-
which
Is
is an
this up in,
endangered
is
species.
this up in Maple Ridge or Oak Ridge?
Oak Ridge.
Oh.
Well, it's off of Oak Ridge.
Mhm.
Okay, whatever. The acre size of the lot is just under 10 of the lots is just under 10 acres and they're cutting 7.
So I have a question. This development was an open space concept development.
Was that Oak Ridge or Maple Ridge that
This
had
is on
the,
Oak Ridge.
the connection of all the vernal pools? Remember, it had 25, and that was the one we had tried to.
No, that's Maple Ridge.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, Oak Ridge is up off Ledge Farm,
right.
and it abuts to, I can't even remember the name of that development. Garrison or something like that.
Oh, the.
Francesca Way and all of
yeah,
those. But this is a small development up off Ledge Farm.
Okay.
So, of the 10 acres, that property is held in common by all of the owners. I was just wondering what the permitting, did everybody get together and say, yeah, let's have
Oh,
a
because
con-"
it's open space.
I don't know, or is this where they're cutting to put the houses in on those lots?
Has that gone to the planning board, Sue?
If it's an open space.
No, it's already been
con-
approved. It was
Already been
approved
approved.
years ago.
But if
That's
it's an
why,
open space
Yeah.
that's why
subdivision.
Ledge Farm was paved all the way down there. It was paid for by the developer.
Hmm.
So I just have this question and I don't really know how.
Is the planning board CC'd on that? Because it's the planning board that approves and upholds the conservation subdivision regulations. Because you can't have it both ways, where you get approved.
Oh, they need to have a forestry plan.
Right.
My map says,
Who is the owner listed on there? Is it
Harbor Street,
It's Mr.
Okay.
Falzoni.
Mr. Falzoni? So is he still the owner? Or does it go to the subdivision?
No, Oak Ridge is the one that runs off of,
I don't know what the legality is.
wait a minute, Oak Ridge is, that's not a, hold on, let me,
Map 10.
yeah, this is up, this is up off of, Case Road, Oak Ridge. And that
That's
means-
over near Nottingham
Oh,
Lake?
am I mistaken then?
Yeah, this is, I think this is the,
Oh, near Tornaco.
yeah, that's,
So I thought that was Maple Ridge. Map 10, lot 914.
yeah, that's
So
just.
all of these?
Yeah, and then I got another one for some more of them.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah,
So this is,
it's probably the cutting for the homes in there,
Oh,
Okay.
That was already approved.
yeah.
And where was the open space on that one?
There's,
The middle?
there's some down in this area, and I think there's some up in this area, and then there's supposed to be a small connecting, between the two.
Right.
These are, this is an older map, so I
Mm-hmm.
don't have it on here.
And then eventually be running in a through road.
Yeah.
And there'll be a couple of wetland crossings.
Is that one of the ones that predates like us informing what is actually valuable for open space?
No, this
No,
committee
no,
can,
you had to, that ordinance had to be passed. And in the ordinance, it gives restrictions and suggestions for, what's important and things like that.
The next one is the same map, and the lot numbers up there are also 9-12, 9-13, and 9-15. Cutting, the acreage is about 5 acres, and they're cutting 3 acres.
Is that on the west side of Case Road?
Yeah, yeah, between Oak Ridge and eventually go between the road that comes up off of Mitchell.
Bernard?
No,
Oh, good.
Yep, so this is,
no, I don't know if it's.
this is the Maple Ridge.
Hold on, let me.
I suppose it's old
Development.
news, right? It's already been.
That's 9, that's 8.
Yeah, that must be for house sites.
That's case, this is, it says. Okay, that comes off Friar Tuck,
On the other end.
you know, on the other end.
Yeah,
Mitchell
Mitchell.
onto Friar Tuck and then into this development.
My husband and I took a drive out there on Oak Ridge and went into Maple Ridge, and some of the houses are already occupied.
Oh, yeah. Okay, the next one is map 32, lot 20. They didn't put the size of the acreage, they didn't put the acreage of cut on there.
No
Yeah.
acreage noted and no size of cut.
Let's see.
No.
See if we can find
Has that one already happened?
it's supposed to be starting the 1st of June. Oh, okay. Okay, it is the Davies property up
Or Davies.
off of Stage Road.
Yeah, they were approved for two-lot subdivision
Okay,
on Stage Road.
There's 20 over here. It's a 23.8 acre piece.
23.8.
Is that above the North River?
I don't know how much they're cutting, so.
I don't know what side. The Davies property is on the west side of
Right.
152, but, and I
Right.
think the North River is on the east side.
Yeah, it's on the east side at that point.
So where is, oh, his stage, right here.
Stage Road, this is.
And this is lot 32.
Okay, this is probably,
Was lot 32?
well, no, it's lot 20. Map 32.
Oh, lot 20, I'm sorry.
It's this one here. It's on the north side of Kennison Pond.
Oh, okay, that's why I'd heard of it. We talked about the Davies,
Yeah.
possible easement up there on part of the Davies property.
Yeah, probably up on this.
They don't have any frontage anywhere. Lot 20? There's no frontage.
Yeah, it's the back lot.
So it's not for a two-lot subdivision. It's a back lot. 23.8 acres.
Talking about Davies land at an earlier meeting. I was talking about it.
Who signed that intent to cut in? Because Sue is no longer with us. She's accepted another position. Sue Serino.
It's the same signature as there.
It was signed off on even though it didn't have acreage or?
Mm-hmm.
And that's signed off on by DES? Is that right?
No, I can't tell.
Maybe we should pull that one and do a little exploration on
Yeah.
that one.
Somebody is signed
This is the
it.
same, and this is the same.
Yeah. That was. Okay, that's Nathan Davies.
That's,
Up at
that's,
Kennison Pond Road,
that's probably the son.
yeah. That's this line here, and the Kennison Pond Road goes up through lots 4 into 5.
Sue, did you say they had applied for a 2-lot subdivision?
Yes, but that's not this one.
Oh, okay.
That was the parents. This is the son.
Well, I know they were looking to get some money for tuition for one of the kids, I think it was, wasn't it?
Well, they're also looking to get a conservation easement.
For the, Okay,
So it just sounds like a timber cut.
yeah. Okay, and then we have a letter of deficiency from DES to the owner of the property on 21 Jamsa Trail Road. They did inspections on May 4th and May 16th. During the inspections, DES personnel observed and documented the following. Permanent docking structure was not constructed in accordance with approved plans associated with the wetlands permit. 1994-01869. It's a violation of RSA 482-A:3.
Can you read those numbers again, please?
1994-01869. They attached a copy here.
So this is for the dock?
For the dock. Approximately 975 square feet of freshwater wetland has been filled without a permit or authorization from the.
How much, Sam?
975 square feet.
900, what, 75 square feet for a dock?
No, a
Been
freshwater
filled in.
wetland has been filled without a permit or authorization. Doesn't say.
Sorry.
This is a violation of RSA 482-A:3. I'll give those to you afterwards. Tree removal occurred within the water buffer, resulting in a reduction of the tree and sapling point score below the minimum required 25 points, which is a violation of RSA 483-B:9. Approximately 3,940 square feet of fill has been placed within the protected shoreline, 250 feet of Pawtucket Lake, without a permit or authorization from NHDES. This is violation of RSA 483-B:9. Erosion and sediment controls were installed. DES believes these deficiencies can be corrected by taking the following action. A plan with dimensions drawn to scale showing existing conditions and proposed conditions after reestablishing the jurisdictional areas and returning the area to original grades. B, a detailed description of the proposed planning plan for the stabilization and revegetation of the restoration area and control of invasive species such as purple loosestrife and common reed. C, a description of the proposed construction sequence and methods for accomplishing restoration and an anticipated restoration compliance data. D, a description of the method of documenting the survival of all shoreline vegetation planted during the restoration project. This should include at a minimum monitoring progress reports for 2 successive growing seasons following completion of the restoration project. 5B, please implement the restoration plans only after receiving written approval from and as conditioned by NHDES. This talks about RSA 482, the New Hampshire Wetlands Law, and 483B, the New Hampshire Shoreline Water Quality Protection Act. If compliance is not achieved within this period, and I don't see what the period is, maybe it's the period they're going to propose, DES may take further action against you, including issuing an order requiring that the deficiencies be corrected and or referring the matter to the New Hampshire Department of Justice for injunctive relief. DES personnel may reinspect the property at a later date to determine whether you have come into and are maintaining full compliance with applicable laws and rules. DES reserves the right to pursue monetary penalties for the deficiencies noted in this letter, as well as any deficiencies noted in subsequent inspections of the property.
Just wanted to take a moment for the benefit of the public, if whoever is listening, about why it's a big deal and why DES writes those letters and has those ordinances when a section like that is filled in and with fill that could contain invasive species that is a threat to our recreation, to our income through Pawtuckaway Lake and its visitors, to our water quality and to our wildlife. So that's
Encourages siltation and runoff into the lake
and the mitigation that they talk about, removing the fill, if they damaged any natural plants or, vegetation or wildlife that were there, it can take 100 years for those species to come back. So
if that.
digging that ditch again it's not gonna be the same.
Once the damage is done, it's pretty remarkable. I just want to note that the DES did issue a permit for the construction of a 4 by 20-foot seasonal pier on 50-foot of frontage for this property. The approval was May 9th, 1997, and the expiration date was July 11th, the year 2000. So this is the only thing on record at the Rockingham County Registry of Deeds. And it's been entered into a book and page down at the Registry of Deeds.
It's unfortunate, it's so much work goes into the volunteers that are at the boat launch and just so much money and so much effort to keep our lake healthy.
In addition, the two outflows of the lake eventually flow into the Lamprey River. One through the Pawtuckaway River and then on the other end at the Elliott River, I believe, and then into the North River and then into the Lamprey.
By the way, this permit was issued to the former owners. This is the subsequent owner here.
Oh, okay. Okay. You all set to continue on, or
It might take a while for me to get that. I'll do that later.
okay.
A lot of stuff.
Okay, next on my agenda
I got the page here.
is a strategic plan review, which we weren't able to get to at our special meeting.
Oh, that makes me feel better.
Yeah. We waited for you, Chris.
Badly that I couldn't make it. I did see the edits to the narrative and to the goals, and I think it looks great. So I think if we want to sign off on that copy
Well,
tonight.
we actually have a couple changes I need to
Already, yeah.
suggest.
Oh, in addition to what I sent out today?
Well, this is on something that you sent out today.
Oh,
It's the one with the logo on it.
yeah.
Yeah, if you look down on the following goals. Goal number 4,
Here, here.
there, where it starts with the word expand. You have the word recreational in there twice. So it should be expand educational, add an AL after education. At least I think.
Right.
Expand educational, recreational, and outreach opportunities. Take out the second recreational.
All right, say that again. Expand
Do
educational.
you have it in front of you?
I do.
Okay, expand educational instead of education.
Mm-hmm.
Recreational is there already, and outreach opportunities. And take out what's in red where you have in recreational there.
How did I miss that? Because I thought I saw that on Cheryl's.
I don't know. That's the only thing I saw. I just wanted to.
Hold on a second. I almost
Was it
wonder.
a different version? Something?
This is the one that was attached today, so that's the only one I.
Oh, yeah, that was the most recent.
Educational. So this is on the fourth bullet, correct?
Yeah, where it starts with the word expand.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I was on goal 4.
No, I'm sorry, in the mission statement, I'm sorry, page 1,
Okay,
mission
so
statement.
just the AL needs to
Add
happen.
AL and take out the second recreational.
Got it.
Did you say that's all you had?
Well, that, I didn't really get any farther than that,
Yeah.
because she just set this out at the very
But
end.
were you at the workshop?
I
where
was,
this
but
was
we really
reviewed?
just dealt with the rules and, protocols.
Yeah, and what I did, Kristen, is I had the edits from our January meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and I went through
And caught things that I
and
didn't.
caught things that you hadn't
Great.
picked up.
Okay.
That's all that was.
Okay.
One other, can I take a?
Oh, yeah, go
Can I
ahead.
take a comment? Under strategic initiatives, page 1 also.
Mhm.
Where it says these goals, second sentence,
Mhm.
these goals and related initiatives, you don't need the comma after goals there.
Mhm.
But I haven't read the whole rest of it, so. And
Do we want to
first-
just read, because I'd like to just wrap this up so we can get at least this on the website, so do you want to just read through it? So like, should we take 5 minutes to
Mhm.
read through?
Somehow, when I printed it out, I have goals, goal 5 is out of order, I see.
Well, they're all out of order. Goal 5, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
the first one is now goal 5.
So that's gonna get moved farther
The
down.
second one is
document.
goal 1, so all of these need to be reshuffled,
Okay,
because we
Yeah.
had decided that some were more important than others. We prioritized them.
Okay.
And
so
so,
5 is gonna get moved.
so the reason why it's faint is because I used red. And when I copy it on my computer, it only comes out light black,
Okay, so the numbers that are on this sheet, these sheets
are in red.
yeah, but the numbers are the ones, one will.
That were
the
reassigned.
One
This-
is one, will be number 1 on this.
Yes, and this will be goal 5.
3, 4, 5,
These
okay,
used to be 1, 2, 3, 4 that way.
okay.
All right, quick question. On page 1, it says 2016 to 2019. Right?
Yeah, that Kristen did that.
But on the next page, it says 2014 to 2017.
Aha.
So does that need to be
Mhm.
updated too?
Yeah.
16, 19.
And under the new goal 1, where you have in red, also add steep slopes. How should that one read? Just take out the words also add and just put steep slopes? I mean, I'm not sure how that should read. You know what I'm
Maybe,
saying?
yeah, maybe it's,
It's like a
Oh,
note,
okay,
but it's not
probably
written in
just
file wording.
delete, also add, and just have it steep slopes, wetlands and rivers.
Well, I like wetlands and rivers and first to third order streams up near water quality.
I
right.
always say first,
Move all of those, the water things up to
Order.
the first
Mm-hmm.
bullet.
we
Mhm.
spell out first hyphen order, first order and to third order. stream.
Yeah. Do that?
Is that,
Can we move it all the way upstairs to the first bullet?
Mm-hmm. And the steep slopes part, maybe it's, evaluate remaining undeveloped land for conservation.
Special habitats such as steep slopes
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or fragile habitats?
Yeah, maybe fragile or, because it's not only, like, cause at this point too, the part of like it's subprime building habitat that's left, so it's steep
Mhm.
slopes and things like that where if it's developed, it can cause erosion and sediment and all that stuff too, so maybe attention, yeah, fragile.
Fragile's good.
So that would be the last bullet.
and where it says Fort General's Greenway, why don't we spell out the number 4, the numeral 4?
I thought that was how it's referred to.
No, I think it's
No.
FOUR.
It is.
Goal 2, objective 4.1,
Mm-hmm.
Should be Board of Selectmen, I guess, or Select Board,
Select board now,
but
yeah.
not Selectmen.
We'll change that to select board. I'll just take your copy after.
Don't take mine, I'm just gonna, I didn't get half of what she just said.
How
I
about
just
I
said
just
skip
give
Are
you
you
mine?
getting it? Yeah, okay.
See? I said, thanks for Kristen. Assuming that you had that part there.
Oh.
So she knows what she's doing. Da, 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 da.
So back to, can I,
And goal 4, I'm sorry.
I'm just looking at goal 1 again, the new goal 1 with all those bullets, where it says water quality protection.
Mm-hmm.
How about, for, lakes, ponds, wetlands, and rivers, and first to third order streams,
Mm-hmm.
or
And then maybe we can
And
actually,
aquifers?
lakes, ponds, good idea,
As the-
wetlands,
Under the Tasker property is,
rivers,
property is the largest aquifer in town. We are working.
first to third order streams, and aquifers. That's a long bullet.
I think then we should, in the goal, the actual goal 1, we should say, with unique values to people, plants, wildlife, and water quality. I think if we take water quality out of the qualifier and the objective, I think sometimes people think we're protecting streams just to protect streams, and it helps to spell out water quality, because we all
So how would that goal read then?
identify, prioritize, and work to protect key conservation areas, maybe, and water quality with unique values to people, plants, and wildlife.
Okay.
I love having all the water bodies spelled out too. It's good.
Back to you, Liz.
Oh, this is another one of my minor tinkerings, sorry. Goal 4, I'll just say expand educational and outreach opportunities. I don't know, it's always a question, do you want to say education and outreach together, or,
Mm-hmm.
but I think when you're talking about opportunities, it's probably
Educational
best to say
opportunities.
educational and
Mhm.
outreach opportunities. And do we want to say something in here where we've got in here social media, which is great. Do we say anything about establishing a trails committee in there? Do you want to say anything about the Facebook page?
Well, part of our efficiencies and communications were identify areas of need and create supportive volunteer opportunities, which I think would cover the Trails Committee, but
Okay.
I think, so that's this is the goals and the objectives.
Yeah.
And I think in the work plan, we should have explicit
Gets more
things like
specific
the
there.
Trails Committee
Yeah.
and work days and,
Where's the volunteer going to go?
Goal 4, it's under objective 5.2.
5.2. Okay. There's also under 5.3,
That was
which
about
by the
trails.
way has got to become 4.3 when it gets purged.
Yes.
There's trail development there as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Maps for
If
public
you don't
access
think
to
it needs to be
lands.
pulled out as anything is separate, that's fine.
No, and even if the Trails Committee dissolves, this will
This will
certainly
still be
be
in place.
an action
Yeah.
item. How about PR? Can we spell that out?
social media.
Public It just
Or
says
just say
NPR.
yeah, public relations.
Public relations.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I don't think you refer to here, but we all know that it's important, is the information that you provide to the Nottingham News every month. That falls in here
Mhm.
Public relations,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think again in the benchmarks or the work plan, it would be.
say it more specifically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
identify by name. So under objective, under goal 4, the last objective, I know these are renumbered, but we need to be sure that the objectives that are in the text, like that one there where it refers back to 2.2,
Mm.
Actually,
we
you'll be
need to be
one.
sure that has the,
So that would be 1.2?
yeah.
2.2 is now 1.2. I have
We'll
to
just
say,
cross-check those.
I have to say, Elizabeth, you have a sharp eye.
Well, that's like
Well, we
Ed,
all are
so it-
helping
yeah.
to make this better.
because I'm like
I don't wanna
ideas
vote
and
on it.
concepts,
I
and
don't
Nothing
wanna
to
vote
me.
on it until we have
yeah,
a
yeah,
final
Yeah,
copy of this.
totally.
but
Yep.
We moved the
Forward
voter
a
ahead a
step.
little bit today.
So do you want to have this approved tonight, Kristen? Or should we approve it after
It seems like there's a lot of edits, although there's
Board of
nothing.
Select Board meeting?
There's
Yes.
nothing.
We could be,
Well, we haven't changed any content.
No.
We've certainly changed some numbers and semantics, but I don't think we've changed any
Mhm.
content. But if you don't feel ready,
We're not ready. There are too many little nitpicky things. I don't really like the idea of putting out a document that we haven't, like,
seen
Well,
final
we wouldn't-
copy.
proofread the
Okay.
final version.
Do you think that we will have a final document ready by next Monday, that we could approve? You know, we have that public hearing on Monday, next Monday on the 18th, we can just convene here, it has to be, would have to be posted,
Yeah, okay.
well, yeah,
just to approve this.
right.
Would that be good enough,
Yeah.
soon enough?
Hmm. Yeah, I just I just don't want it to
Language.
keep languishing, and it's helpful to get volunteers, and
I think that would be good.
it's good for the public to have it. So
So we'll do, a final review after public hearing. 6/18 of SP. Do you want that?
thank you. Yeah. So I'll send a draft out this week.
We'll just have to rely on Elizabeth to make sure you.
Yeah. Right.
Don't rely on me. I'll help.
Well, I just gave her my copy, so I'm gonna be lost without a clue. Is
So
that
Chris is
Sam?
putting this together, okay.
Did you get them all?
I'm not sure if I got them. The one on, the one is not one, I'm not sure if I got it all in there.
Blah, 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 or I should remember
Please
that.
look at it, Liz, because
Okay.
it's your eye for these changes that
Okay.
would be helpful, I guess.
All right, I'll keep that.
Okay, and I'm down to other now.
Well, for the work plan, that's gonna, I don't know if we wanna have some more, another workshop, or if it might be helpful if there are areas that people are interested in, that they could try to draft ideas that they have of actual activities that fall under.
So benchmarks 17 through 19?
Right.
I think probably we should have another work group and
Yeah, I do
try to
too.
have Rayleigh in there. This is something that she cared about, I
Mhm.
know. And wasn't here today, but I'd have her.
It's so helpful to have these, and that way, if we do have other volunteers, or if Board of Selectmen or Planning Board or anyone wants to know like what we have planned, what's on our plate.
Yeah.
And also sometimes we have volunteers that have ideas that may not fit in our priorities, so we can refer them.
Yeah.
We wanna try to take a crack at that, next Monday too, or
Oh,
after the, no?
That's
I
a
think
lot,
that would be
yeah.
too much.
I think that'd be too much.
We'll be here
Thanks
for
for being so
hours.
ambitious, Sam.
You have to bring beers or something.
Well, I mean, really, we've got all these objectives here that have to be renumbered to agree with the other thing. It's,
Oh, okay.
that's the stuff that trips you up. If you don't have all your little numbers
I
and
don't have the ducks in
stuff,
a row.
then you end up with typos. And having worked for a state agency where they would be rushed to put out the regulations and then we'd be making corrections later, it's like, let's do it right.
So I'll keep that with that up there.
Yeah, I still have to copy all that stuff down. I have, bylaws and rules of procedure all ready to go. Did you
Great.
have a chance to look at the markup that Cheryl sent along, and then I added a few more edits to that this afternoon?
Mhm.
And then for the hard copies, one for the town clerk and one for our files, if you're good to go, we can accept them.
I feel confident that we spent a good amount of time on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what,
That
pretty
was-
much what the
that could be
workshop
printed.
was.
Mhm.
You know, I didn't. Okay, 2015. So why don't I just pass these, well, let's vote first. Sue, move, that we adopt, that we approve the amendments made to the bylaws and rules of procedure for the Nottingham Conservation Commission.
Do I hear a
A
second?
second.
Is there any discussion?
You want to take a moment to just explain that it, comes from RSAs and,
For our audience?
Yeah.
Yes. Bylaws and rules of procedure are a charge per RSA 676 -1 established by the state RSA, Chapter 36, capital A:1. Let me see. Shall have such rights, powers, and duties as are conferred or imposed upon it by the residents of Nottingham of the New Hampshire Revised Statutes annotated in any amendments. Full versions of the land use statutes may be found in the New Hampshire Planning and Land Use Regulation issued by the New Hampshire Office of Strategic Initiatives, that's a new name, and at their website. So this document covers certain aspects of a commission. Article 1, members and vacancies. Article 2, the duties of a conservation commission. Article 3, officers and their duties. Article 4, election of officers. Article 5, removal of members. Article 6, other agents of the Conservation Commission, hiring people or having volunteers. Article 7, committees. Article 8, meetings and hearings. Article 9, conduct of business. Let me see. Article 10, rules of procedure, how to conduct a meeting and what should happen. Article 11, adoption and amendment. And the last article, Article 12, authorization, in which we amend it, accept it, and then everybody signs it.
Okay.
And then we'll put this up on our website,
and it is on there, but then,
the new version.
so people can
Yeah.
find it
Yeah.
under the commission's page, yeah.
Okay, any further discussion on this? All those in, yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous, there was no no's and nobody would abstain, so I declare the vote.
And we can keep these in the files until everybody's had a chance to sign. Sam. I'll trade you first.
pass them over that way and you can find the member spot there. Here's one. Does anybody else have anything? Oh, I think we talked about that.
Oh, Vice Chair, sorry.
No, and we won't until, I think, the end of the month, at the earliest.
Okay.
But I also wanted to ask you what the progress, if there's been any progress with, the Kennard piece and the conservation easement that's gonna be put on that. Has Bear Paw started to move on that?
I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, we need to get that done.
Let's see, last, I think they talked about it, and I gotta check with
All
Bill
right,
Clough
all right.
and see what's happening on that. So, our next land protection meeting is gonna be after our next meeting. It's called-
Okay. Jonathan, do you have anything that you'd like to contribute? Put you right on the spot.
Not in particular.
Do you have any special interest in conservation, animals, water?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I'm a decision analyst and wildlife researcher. I
Ah.
currently work for Massachusetts, or UMass Dartmouth,
Mhm.
working on cod research, so
Oh,
groundfish
fisheries,
management
yeah.
plans.
You live here in Nottingham now.
Yeah, I live in Nottingham.
Welcome.
I luckily work remotely. My wife works at UNH.
Oh, that works out.
Is she also in science?
She's in science. She just finished a PhD in genetics, but now works on education research. So
Uh-huh.
she helps STEM research programs.
Oh,
basically
excellent.
Working with faculty
Nice.
there,
Yeah.
and the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning there. So she basically coordinates with different professors to implement different
What was her
learning plans.
thesis on in genetics?
She looked at cactus mice and basically how
Oh.
their genetics allows them to conserve water and.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is
Mm-hmm.
interesting. So tell us about cod.
Yeah, controversial. For sure. Basically, so my background's on how to kind of bridge between different parties to some degree, but also just laying out decision processes. So
For managing the
for
research.
management, yeah,
Yeah.
basically, I help figure out what everyone's objectives are and then do
Mhm.
simulation modeling to compare different alternatives. So that's what I'll be doing for cod. There's another researcher kind of working on the climate change aspect of it, and I'm working on the management strategy side of it.
Kristen's a wildlife specialist also, and
Good to have the fish.
so the last item that I was hoping we could talk about tonight before we do
Oh, yes,
adjourn
yes,
is
yes.
bats. Speaking of wildlife, because Kristen and Celia took the Lamprey River Advisory Committee out to look at sites.
Yeah, I think, what did she say? They approved 4?
She approved them all, including Ternanko.
Yeah.
Here's the,
Approved 4 sites
Oh,
in
perfect.
Nottingham?
so that includes the Garland maternity colony?
Yeah, so we should keep the sites maybe a little bit vague because they're going to be putting up equipment too.
Mhm.
But so the Lamprey River Advisory Committee has a wildlife working group, and they are working with a few researchers, including a woman from UNH who's getting her PhD, and her study was on bats and white nose syndrome, and she has some relatively good results coming that match up with some of the older sites where it was first found, where some bats are having survivability, and not just survivability, but enough resources to be able to reproduce successfully too, which we lost 90% of our little brown bats in the state of New Hampshire. Several of our species are now listed as threatened, endangered, or special concern. So we have 8 species of bats in New Hampshire. a lot of people are just familiar with the little brown and the big brown, which are year-round residents, and those are the ones that tend to be in people's homes or attics.
We had
in
little
the
browns for
winter.
years and years.
Yeah. And unfortunately, our state agencies and federal agencies, a lot of focus was on game species for the first kind of 150 years of their existence. And I was actually I am a member of the Northeast Bat Working Group, which started meeting in response to white nose syndrome when it was first found in 2006 in New York. And when all of the states went to report on, where bats hibernate or what kind of habitat they use for maternity colonies, or when do red bats or hoary bats or silver-haired bats actually leave to migrate, and where do they go, how far do they migrate, and things like that. New Hampshire and Maine had pretty much zero baseline data.
Yeah.
So this study, now that was like the silver lining, I guess, of white nose syndrome. People found that, USDA was able to quantify that bats provide about $3 billion worth of agricultural pest control in our country for free at night while we're sleeping. And certainly with more mosquito-borne diseases like West Nile and Triple E and things like that, people are understanding how important bats are. And all, in Nottingham or rural New Hampshire, where we still have a lot of forestry and farming, they eat moths. They consume. A big brown bat, is about, their body is about this big, and they weigh typically 15 to 20 grams. Can eat 1,000 mosquito-sized insects in 1 hour of foraging. So they're really important. So we went out to several properties. Lamprey River Watershed Committee is obviously interested in understanding how the watershed and not just the actual river body, but its tributaries and the upland or other habitats surrounding it up to a quarter of a mile away from the river, how that supports life and what bats are there and how they're using different properties. So in Nottingham, they wanted to pick 7 sites, and they've actually chosen 4 in Nottingham because we have such special habitats. A few of them, one is just has a lot of older pine and red pine, which has that perfect kind of bark that lifts up where hoary bats and silverhairs tuck right in. There's a maternity colony, a known maternity colony with up to 20 females at one of the sites. Another site is just an incredible matrix of open space, older growth forest, riparian, stream, fields, habitat. So they're gonna go out and put up survey equipment, and we should hear some results, I think, by the end of the summer.
Oh, that could be.
So acoustic monitoring?
Yeah, it's right. And for people who aren't familiar with that, they all species have different frequencies, so they can actually tell what species is there by the frequencies of their calls.
That's pretty exciting.
I'm just going to note that the sites are kept confidential.
Yeah. Yep. Let's see what else. Oh, I had one other thing. So that's really exciting. Obviously, it's just another piece of how special Nottingham is. It's like when we looked at the Wildlife Action Plan and all the pink that was in Nottingham. It's because we have such special habitat, which is really cool. But I had another kind of non-related thing, is that Brooke from the rec department reached out and wants to kind of collaborate with us. She has a camp, and she wanted to brainstorm about what kids could do as a project. So I don't know if that would be
Well, I think
or
Courtney was gonna try to take some of what we're doing on trails.
cool.
But you're thinking more wildlife,
No, I don't,
projects,
I
or-
think I probably cannot take it on, so I just,
Well, Mark West did that 2 years ago, but he did not do it last summer. I don't know if that was a transition time for the rec
You
department.
might be willing to.
But he had a blast 2
Yeah.
years ago. He said, you know,
He loves doing that.
all the little critters that you get in the water, and he just gets the
So-
kids all excited.
maybe she could come, I could invite her to our next meeting and we could
Yeah,
brainstorm what might be fun, but ask Mark.
Does she need something sooner than that?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No. I'll forward along the email to everybody too.
That would be great. Do you wanna
Yes,
forward
yes.
it to Mark?
yeah,
too?
to also
Mhm.
include Mark in that.
And Celia.
Right.
Oh, yes, of course.
Oh, and Celia did an incredible job on that project. She pulled up all the sites, all the maps, GPS, latitude, longitude.
I know
She
it.
was
Soup
such
to
an
nuts.
amazing. Yeah.
So helpful on a lot
She's
of
incredible.
projects.
Thank you, Celia.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the people who likes to do our work but doesn't like the meeting part,
Yeah.
which we totally understand.
And then the last thing that I just thought of too, and this again comes from just us having more visibility on Facebook. You know, there's a lot of posts, and we, as a commission, I put that post out about the instance of people seeing bear
Mhm.
in our town, and there were probably 20 or more comments about people being concerned about the pace of growth in Nottingham, and I didn't know if I can encourage people to go to the Board of Selectmen meetings, or if there's anything we can encourage people
Well,
to
they
do.
certainly can be more vocal, but
Right,
planning board and town meeting but in New Hampshire, if you want to protect land, you buy it.
right.
I mean, that's the bottom line.
Mhm.
There's no public money, or very little public money, to buy a chunk of land from a developer or a land broker. It's just the way it is.
There's no like moratoriums or slowing, like strategic growth, or, because I remember in our master plan, it's stated that we can support 10,000 residents with the resources and the water that we have, and we
But
must
at-
be.
But at the expense of our wildlife.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm thinking we must be at like 60. You know, like what's
Yeah, we're at 5,000.
just
At least 5,000,
yeah. All right.
We have seen so much wildlife in our neighborhood this year, more than ever before. We have gray fox, we have some coyote, we have a big black bear today in
Mhm.
our neighborhood.
Mhm.
Of course, wild turkey, deer,
Mhm.
other.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, the bear are directly tied to all of the cuts and the clearing.
Yeah.
Plus
Yeah.
just the nature of the weather patterns this year, but certainly,
And Mom kicking out last year's cubs.
right.
You look at all the intent to cut forms we're receiving now.
Yes. But ultimately, if they don't put houses in these areas, it
How
grows up
creating
into
habitat,
shrub
Right.
brush, and that's excellent for
Yeah.
birds and other kinds of wildlife,
Mhm.
bunny rabbits and grouse.
And the Four Generals Greenway, like focusing on those kinds of large tracts of unfragmented habitat is what's gonna help the larger, reduce the interaction between humans and larger predators. Okay. That's it for me.
Anybody else have anything else they want to bring up at this point? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, we adjourn. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No. I also aye.
what's the time?
Wow, that's a record for us.
Yeah, well, we had that other meeting